It's time to Think IT, the podcast from Noesis where we uncover the ideas and trends shaping digital transformation. Tune in to hear from the experts who are defining the future. Let's Think IT. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to Think IT. The episode today is about AI and customer experience. Customer experience has always been about understanding customers better. Today, AI is changing almost every part of that equation. But is AI simply making experiences more efficient, or is it fundamentally changing how organizations build relationships with customers? That we are discussing today with Ricardo Rocha, Noesis Global Marketing Director, and Rodolfo Luís Pereira, Head of Pre-Sales and Strategic Advisory. So, when we talk about AI in customer experience, many people immediately think about chatbots and content generation. But is that where the biggest transformation is happening, or are we witnessing something much bigger?
It's actually something much bigger. So chatbots and all those aspects are, the last frontier, the thing that you visually are connecting currently to companies, but it's actually much more than that. So when we talk about customer experience, we need to think about all the touch points that a customer, when reaching a brand, recognizes the brand, the trust, the contents. It's not about just having more campaigns, more content being created. It's about the actual experience that a customer will have. And that is fundamentally changing because by knowing exactly in real time what are the previous interactions that customer made with the brand, how he discover the things that he wants, it's actually changing because we can now predict and seeing the signals or intents when the customer is reaching out. And of course that will only work if while connecting all the data, the content that you are creating, the websites, the mobile apps, all CRMs, commerce, all those things are actually they need to be somehow integrated so that the customer experience becomes more relevant. So it's just not just about having the right content being produced, and we're for sure going to talk about that. It's about having the right things at the right time for your customer. And actually it's also changing the way customers interact with your brand. So most of the time, or in the past, we will do a Google search, we'll do an organic search, but now it's becoming more relevant to know the content being discovered by AI, by any means or agents or something that are somehow in the life cycle doing some of the tasks for a customer, allowing the interaction being more completely different, right? So there's actually some market statistics that says that it's almost surpassing the organic search being done by agents, and by the end of the year for sure will overcome those aspects. That gives us a strong signal that the market is shifting. It's no longer having just a website or a content that you can reach out. It's actually knowing and preparing the contents to allow this type of AI agents, etc., to produce and look into a brand, analyzing for you what is relevant or not, depending on the context you are operating, and actually filtering then the brands all over the place. So from the time you start to reach out for brands to having recommendations, having considerations through all the process of purchasing, loyalty, and all those things, data needs to be somehow unified. And the actual change is that it's no longer a silo approach. It needs to be consistent across all the channels that the user or the customer is interacting. So the real change is not about having just AI on top of it, because that will for sure not work. It's having the intelligence throughout the entire life cycle of the customer to a brand.
Yeah, and from the marketing perspective, I think also AI is changing the way customers perceive the brand, right? And also their expectations from the brand. So a lot of companies are still looking at AI as productivity tools, And of course, that's good. Okay, we all know it. So we can use AI to help us in our job, automate tasks, generate content in terms of for us marketeers. But it has to go. That's one side of it, right? And it's important, but it has to go one. I would say one level deeper. And as Rodolfo was saying, it's more about understanding the customer. So from the marketing perspective and customer experience, you need to use AI, not only for as a productivity tool, as I was saying, but more to get more insights and understanding market trends, customer behaviors, patterns, and be relevant, as Rodolfo was saying, be relevant for the customers, because now the customers are also exposed to AI. So their expectations and what they demand for a brand and their experience and their interaction with that brand is also changing. And so the brands need to be aware of that.
And Rodolfo talked and mentioned personalization.
Yep.
And we have been talking about that topic for years. So what makes AI-powered personalization different? Is it simply recommending products, or is it becoming something much more contextual?
So traditionally, all the systems interacting with the customer will do a segmentation. So that's the traditional path where you will combine specific aspects that you are trying to reach out for a segment of your audience. And that is shifting considerably because like any human, you would like to be considered as a true individual. So AI allows you to go on that level, very sophisticated and very fast. So by allowing to knowing all the interactions you've made, what are your preferences, what is the contextual or the context that you are now interacting, provide a different kind of action, or per all means a different kind of experience. So by allowing AI to tap into this type of processes, you will be much more fast in understanding and adapting that journey. So it's shifting from I would like to recommend the product to a group, to a segment, to what actually makes sense to this customer in this context, to this channel, in this moment. And that is fundamentally a big change in personalization. So doing that, you allow it to a customer to feel as unique and important to a brand. And that's really a differentiator that will come across in the next coming months or something like that. Yeah, it's coming very quickly.
And Ricardo, does marketing change too? If customer experience is becoming increasingly personalized, how does the role of marketing change?
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for marketing to become even more strategic than it is today. I think marketing used to be seen as almost as a campaign factory. So the focus was a lot of like creating campaigns, creating content, looking at metrics that today we called it vanity metrics, like impressions, conversions, clicks. All that, of course, still important, but I think AI can allow us marketers to change that shift because, again, as I was saying before, AI brings you a lot of productivity. So you'll be able to create, and you are able today to create more campaigns faster, more content, and so that again allows you to switch and to change your focus from productivity function, like marketing, you need to create more and more and more to become more strategic and look again to the topics that we're talking about, like analytics, consumer insights, know your customer better, use your own proprietary data, and combine it with segments, market information, and all that. So I think that's the main shift in terms of marketing, switching from a campaign factory to a customer intelligence function.
And just to complement what you just said, so it becomes more relevant that marketing should adapt itself to what's going on. And so instead of just having more marketing campaigns, this and that, like you were mentioning, that could expedite productivity, it's also relevant to include this type of insights. Yeah. That, for example, if you just had made a complaint about a product or a service to a brand, it makes no sense to continue to receive marketing information about something that you just have had a complaint. So marketing will have now an opportunity also to really adapt to knowing those insights, knowing those kind of aspects, to adapt the marketing campaigns, the content that is being generated to that specific individual, and that's a game changer.
Yeah.
So you think that marketing teams should be more focused on customer
Yeah.
experience
Yes, I
or
think there's.
creating campaigns?
Yes, I think there's there's a new concept in terms of, again, using AI for marketing. You had two movements. First, there was a lot of tools, so it's called the AI sprawl, right? So there's tools for everything, create content, ads, and visuals, and all of that. And now there's kind of a new concept and new solutions that are appearing in the market. There are more seen as like marketing operating systems, using, of course, AI and with agents embedded, and that allows what Rodolfo is saying. You can use your customer data that sits in your CRM, and sometimes marketing doesn't have access to it or is sealed. You can have the customer service information. You can have, again, market trends and information. You can create with AI synthetic audiences, so you can work on your segmentation, your buying personas, and test it with real kind of, well, synthetic audiences created by AI, but they are pretty accurate. So again, you can use, I think that's the major difference. Of course, there's some technological barriers that Rodolfo can explain a bit, but the main advantage of AI for marketing and customer experience for me is the ability to combine or pull all this data that is, again, sealed and spread across systems, and use AI to analyze it and to give you insights for marketing, so you'll be able to do a much more personalized and in almost one-to-one engagement with your customers.
Yeah, but there's a risk behind that, right? When you talk about having those systems, people generically think that AI will solve that fragmentation, right? So that we'll put AI on top and then it will magically connect all the dots for you, which is actually not it. So when it coming to adding any type of technology on top, AI will just exponentially show where your gaps are. So if you have the data not fully connected, you need to invest not only having big AI stuff on top of it, because if you do that with a fragmented approach, it will only exponentially show that fragmentation. So instead of providing a unified experience where AI will help you to navigate through that, it will actually exponentially show your fragmentation, and that means that ultimately the experience you are providing to your customer will not become relevant and trustworthy. Yeah.
And about content creation, Ricardo, one example you've written about recently is what you call the content paradox. The idea that AI is making AI-generated content less valuable. And how does that fit into the broader customer experience conversation?
Yes, I think that content paradox is something that everyone needs to start looking at with attention in terms of marketing. Again, as we're saying, AI allowed you to produce more content, right? Easier. So everyone today can be a content producer, right? The only thing is, if you use AI to self-generate that content, so if you use it for AI-generated content, you have what is called AI slop. So it's pretty much generical content, and the paradox here is that it's going to be AI that will filter out your AI-generated content, because again, with LLMs and the way people are searching today, the consumer or the customers are not using Google anymore to search, so they are asking questions to LLMs. And LLMs, to respond and to answer those questions to the users, they need relevant information, so they search for relevant information throughout the different sources. If you're generating AI-generated content, if you're generating generic and not like deep content, that content will not be prioritized by the LLM. So that's the paradox here. You're using AI to generate content, but at the same time, AI is deprecating your content, and you're not showing up in the AI search. So again, you need to use AI in a smarter way, or in a more intelligent way. You need to use it to again use. You need to be relevant. You need to be authentic. You need to have your own, bring your own expertise, and that's all information and data that you have in your own system. So that's why you should not use AI to generate content. You should use AI to help you generate content for research, for ideas, for all of that. But then you have to integrate that with your unique data, the information that we were saying previously, your customer information, your own experience, your own cases, the problems your company solved that no one else can solve, the problems that is solved and what you learned with it, because that's your intellectual property, right? And that's what will make your content unique and then relevant to be cited by the LLMs and to educate the customers, because also that behavioral change between Google search, traditional search versus LLM, is that customers and people are seeking for education, because they're no longer like searching on Google and then looking at different websites and researching by their own. Now they are asking questions. What is better for me in this situation? What do you recommend? What should I do? What should I buy? And so for that, you need to have content, again, relevant content, unique content that is giving new informations to the LLMs, because in that case, they will use it as a source to answer to your user. If you just use AI to self-generate content, it's going to be fluffy content, generic, nothing new. It will use the same sources. So if you imagine if you have two brands using the same tool,
It doesn't
writing
have
about the
it
same
doesn't
content.
add anything new to your
Exactly.
content. Yes.
Exactly.
And actually, it creates audience noise, right?
Yeah.
So by having a spread out of content being generated with, which seems funny, it actually will create a lot of noise. And when that creates noise, our experience says that will also create friction with the brand. So, and this is quite relevant, because as we would like to create content that is relevant, and generic content will not be relevant, and actually LLMs, AI will see it through it, right? And will only promote brands or dictate as a recommendation for when you're doing a comparison on a market or something like that, that seems trustworthy, that is factual, that it can be cross-checked, etc., actually building trust. So generic content doesn't do that. Human creativity will make it as a differentiator, and that becomes even more relevant without having generic content being there. So some brands for sure, if they are doing less today, they will take the heap to start creating more content to be more visible, but it actually will fall out if other brands are starting to use the AI to generate and help humans generate creative content, and again, content that is not relevant only for the human, but also for the AI agents that are looking for that type of level of content to be served ultimately to what you are searching. So trusted content, relevant content will become even more important in upcoming days.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal, of course, is to sell and to generate revenue, but you have to think more and more in educating. So it's like, because again, it's what people are looking when they go to the AI tools. Is your content helping people making better decisions? I think that's something that marketers and brands need to think. Is my content helping the customer to make better decisions? Am I educating my audience, or I'm just pushing again, a product, a service, and a generic information?
Actually, also changes a bit. I've been talking about audiences and stuff like that. So having a nice content is no longer just enough, right? So content needs to be structured. Content needs to be, like we said, relevant, and this word will come up for sure many times. And the idea is that by looking into that, you have now two audiences, right? You have, and this will come up, and yeah. Well, actually, it's more like the AI agents and the visitors or the users using the AI agents to interact with the brand. So it's fundamentally shifting to that approach. So just funny content, etc., will not be just enough, because that becomes irrelevant to an AI machine or something like that. Yeah?
So from your perspective, Rodolfo, does that mean organizations should rethink how they create experiences as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've been saying, by having the AI on top of it, they need to see that as an opportunity. But there's also some risks there. People think that, okay, there's a new technology that will automatically be differentiated. And as we know, at least until today, and this might shift somewhere, but it's always about people, processes, and then the technology. So first thing any company should do is, what are my business objectives? What are the outcomes I want to produce to my customer? So by looking at that, then you need to decide what are the decision making points I need to do, what is the relevant data that I need to connect to allow to create that context, that service, that automation of some part of the customer lifecycle experience. And by doing that, you need then to understand what is the best approach. Will AI solve everything? For sure not, right? So it all comes from, what is your brand trying to communicate? What are the experience you want to put out so that your customer will interact with your brand, or in this case through AI, and making that journey more seamless. And again, I will use the word frictionless. Okay, so that's the thing.
So when we talk about data, many organizations want AI-powered experiences, but how many are actually ready?
Well, readiness is a thing, right? So, and we see this over and over time. Is and coming to what I was just explaining, which is companies will pick the latest tech and will just put it on top. So if they don't solve their data governance, sorry, their data, their ways of integration with systems, because data is spread out everything, like I said, websites, mobile apps, commerce, CRM tools, financial systems, service systems, and without that that integration and having a real plan and data governance, so you need to bet on having the right data with quality, ensuring that obviously that is built up with all the levels of security, all the things that needs to come up with it, and with an AI approach. And will that be used in all the things? No, but it can for sure help. And we commonly say when we are approaching customers that some use cases don't even make sense, at least not today. So just by investing a lot of money in AI or something like that does not make your brand differentiated on a market. It's actually what the outputs and what are you differentiating in terms of way of approaching the market, and AI will help you do that for sure in many situations. So it needs to have all those elements in place. It's not about the perfect AI model. It is normally the level or the quality of the data you can provide to those LLMs, to those AI machines. And ultimately, like we said, if you have an unstructured, fragmented, poor data quality, putting AI on top will just exponentially show that, and which means that will not. So it's not a silver bullet, right?
Yeah.
And Ricardo, from a marketing perspective, does that change how teams work?
Yes, I think it's changing, and it will change definitely, because of course we always use data, right, in marketing. But I already talked about the vanity metrics, and I think a lot of the big challenges in terms of marketing in all organizations is that silhouette data. You don't have access to everything. It's not integrated, as Rudolf was saying. And of course, AI will not solve that immediately, but if you do the foundational work that Rudolf was saying, and then you put AI on top of it, it will exponentially give you more insights, and it will definitely change your marketing way of work, or the way the marketing teams work. So I think it will be less gut feeling and more science and more data-driven and insight-driven work. And I think that's the way we are walking to. 2 or 3 years ago, everyone was talking about data analytics and bring data analytics inside marketing teams and have data scientists inside of marketing teams. I think AI maybe shift that, saying that okay, maybe we don't need a data science inside the marketing team now, because if we do this work and then if we have the AI layer on top of it, it will help the marketers. So we don't have to have like a scientist to work the data and prepare us what we need to make our decisions. We'll have access to that with AI, of course, assuming that again the foundations are done and there's a data governance and everything is integrated.
And just one last question. Looking ahead 3 years, what do you think customers will expect that today still feels innovative?
Well, the first thing is that I don't actually believe it will take 3 years. As we've been seeing, data, AI data models and LLMs, every 2-3 months evolving considerably, and all the politics behind the advantage that those kind of things will take. But for sure, so I don't know the time frame, but I'm sure it will not take 3 years. So many of the things that now we feel that is innovative, like a brand knowing exactly, which are just a few, knowing exactly what I've done, what I've interacted with them, etc., will be assumed as it should be part of that. So it's pretty much like when you get to know someone, right? You expect in 2 or 3 days or something the person remembering some of those details. And if you become friend with that person, all those details will build up, and the more knowledge you have, the more trust the relationship will have. So that trust of the relationship between a customer and a brand will become even more relevant, right? Of course, from an IT perspective, all those interactions will feel, seamless. It's for sure you're going to have personal assistants helping you buying stuff, or we're talking about starting this record that can help you plan a tour through a country or something like that, booking hotels for you, recommending places where you are going to eat, or even doing this kind of actions and small actions, but also then helping you if you have a need, then having those personal assistants doing that for you, and we expect them not to hallucinate, right?
Yeah.
From an organization point of view, then of course all of these troubles that currently are in place, and Ricardo was just saying that all of these insights, etc., that typically companies have a hard time discovering, will become even more relevant to, in a very fast pace, change the approach in real time of what your customer wants and is relevant on that approach. And of course, automating parts of their life cycle, integrating systems, doing parts of that journey, etc., will become as a normal thing to come about. So producing different experiences, identifying different types of intents that your customers, when reaching out the brand, are doing, so that you can even tailor your products, tailor your services, etc., to really create that unique experience in an integrated way. But again, it all comes always with the need of having a true governance on top of it, which means, for me at least, always for sure human on a loop. So we need to be accountable that things are being done in a correct, ethical way, etc., to ensure that by the end of it, it all becomes to relevant content and trustworthy, to have a customer keep doing the stuff they need. In a fast pace, some agents doing that for you, etc., and that is not in 3 years. That for sure is a shift we are already using. Yeah? I was given an example, a very simple example, that it's almost like a year that I don't do a Google search, right? I always go through an LLM, etc. to help me sort it out what I need to do, and even point it out where I can buy, etc., etc. That on a personal level. On the professional level, most of my tasks, I estimate more than 80 or 90% of my tasks are being helped somewhere and somehow by an AI agent that is making a lot of us more productive, and that experience needs to come out very shortly to everyone as a commodity. So that will be a big shift for sure, and it will not take 3 years.
And Ricardo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, yes, making predictions in 3 years about technology is not easy, of course, but I think we can assume two things in terms of marketing. One is that everyone will use AI, so it will become a commodity.
We are already using
We're already
it.
using it, so there will be systems, agents, as Rolf was saying. And so I think, again, going back to marketing and to the content conversation we are having, I think that the game changer will be authenticity. So, because again, the AI foundations will be there, the data will be there in a perfect world, and everyone will use it and use the tools. So, is that uniqueness that you have in your brand and in or yourself that will make the difference, because it will make your content and your brand more authentic. That will bring to relevance and to trust, and then consumers will promote that, or will support that.
So thank you so much, Ricardo,
Thank you.
Rodolfo, and thank you for listening to Think IT.